You ever think you know someone so well you could finish their sentences? And then one night, a hidden camera shows you a version of them that rips the floor out from under you? Yeah, that was me. It started small. Ethan had been off for weeks, locking doors he never used to lock, brushing me off with half smiles, tapping his phone screen like it held state secrets. We'd been married 5 years, and suddenly it felt like I was living with a stranger who just happened to wear my husband's face. I told myself I was being paranoid, overthinking, but paranoia has a way of planting seeds. And when you water them with late-night silence and unanswered questions, they grow into obsession. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I bought a nanny cam. Not because I thought he was cheating, not exactly. I just needed proof that my gut wasn't lying to me. The first few nights, the footage was boring. Just Ethan pacing, working late in the nursery we'd converted into my office. But on the 5th night, God, I wish I hadn't pressed play. Ethan sat on the edge of the rocking chair, shoulders hunched like the weight of the world was pressing him down. His hands were shaking. And then I saw it. A baby photo. Not of our son. Not of anyone I recognized. Just a little girl with a grin so wide it looked like sunlight on paper. Ethan cradled that photo like it was the only thing keeping him alive. And then he broke. Full-on sobbing. Gasping, broken sounds I'd never heard come out of him in all our years together. My chest tightened watching it, like I was intruding on something sacred and terrifying all at once. I whispered out loud to the empty room, "Who are you, Ethan?" I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The man I thought I knew, the man who laughed with me over burnt pancakes, who sang terribly off-key in the shower, who kissed our son's forehead every morning, was hiding a ghost. And I had no idea if that ghost was about to destroy us. Now listen, 93% of people who hear stories like this don't hit subscribe. That's like sneaking into a wedding, eating 2 slices of cake, and leaving before the vows. Don't be that guest. Hit that subscribe button. It keeps the heartbreak real and the secrets spilling. Back to the mess. The next morning, I slid the nanny cam footage off my laptop like it was evidence in a crime scene. Ethan strolled into the kitchen, hair damp from the shower, tie crooked, acting like nothing in the world was wrong. "Morning," he said, pouring coffee. His voice cracked just enough to make me wonder if he knew I knew. I studied him over my mug. "Rough night?" He froze for half a second, just long enough to register. Then he forced a smile. "Just work. You know." No. I didn't know. And the way he avoided my eyes told me he wasn't about to explain. That photo burned in my mind. That cry. That ache. I wanted to ask him outright, but something in me hesitated. Maybe fear? Maybe the sinking feeling that once I opened that door, I couldn't close it again. So instead, I smiled back, pretending everything was normal, even as my heart screamed, "Find out the truth." And I knew one thing. This was only the beginning. If you've ever lived with someone who's hiding something, you know the silence screams louder than any fight. That's what my house had turned into. A haunted museum of half-finished sentences and slammed doors. I tried to be patient. Tried to tell myself maybe Ethan was stressed at work. Maybe he was just tired. But that baby photo wouldn't leave my head. I saw it every time he avoided my eyes, every time his jaw clenched like a vice. One night, I finally asked. We were in bed, the glow of his phone lighting up his face while I stared at the ceiling. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might shake the whole damn mattress. "Ethan," I whispered, "what were you looking at in the nursery?" His thumbs froze mid-scroll. He turned his head slowly, eyes dark in the dim light. "What are you talking about?" "You know what I mean." My voice cracked. "That picture. The baby. Who is she?" His face shifted. Shock, then panic, then a mask of anger. "Jesus, Natalie, Were you spying on me? I sat up, clutching the blanket like armor. Don't turn this on me. You were crying over a photo I've never seen before. Tell me what's going on. For a moment, I thought he would. His lips parted, shoulders sagging like he might finally let me in. But then he shook his head, hard, and rolled away. Drop it, Nat, he muttered into the pillow. You wouldn't understand. Wouldn't understand? That one cut deep. We'd built a life together, survived financial scares, new parent exhaustion, his mother's health issues. Hell, I thought we could survive anything. But apparently, I wasn't worthy of this truth. The next morning, he was gone before I even woke up. Coffee cup rinsed and in the sink, tie missing, no note. Just silence. And that silence stretched on for days. He worked late, came home wired and restless. He stopped kissing me goodnight, stopped asking about my day. Meals became background noise. Me feeding our son, him pushing food around his plate like it was poison. I tried again, cornering him in the kitchen after dinner. My voice was calm, but inside I was shaking. Ethan, you can't keep shutting me out. If something's wrong, I need to know. He slammed the fridge door so hard the magnets rattled. God, Natalie, not everything is about you. The words hit me like a slap. I stood frozen, spatula still in my hand, watching the man I loved unravel right in front of me. His hands trembled, eyes darting like he was being hunted by ghosts only he could see. Later that week, I reached out to June, his mother. If anyone knew what was eating him alive, it had to be her. We met at a little diner, the kind with sticky menus and coffee that tastes like gasoline. I didn't even bother with small talk. June, I said, leaning across the table. Something's wrong with Ethan. He won't talk to me. Do you know what's going on? She stirred her tea, slow and deliberate, her silver rings clinking against the mug. Her eyes flickered up to mine, sharp and knowing, but she hesitated. Some doors, she said softly, don't need to be open, Natalie. That silence, that hesitation, it said more than words ever could. I gripped my cup so hard I thought it might shatter. So you do know. Her lips pressed together in a tight line. She didn't confirm. She didn't deny. Just sipped her tea and looked away. And in that moment, my heart dropped into my stomach. Because whatever Ethan was hiding, it wasn't just his secret. It was hers too. They say you can measure the distance in a marriage by the silence at the dinner table. By that measure, Ethan and I were living on different continents. He barely spoke, barely looked at me. And then, one Saturday morning over pancakes, he dropped the kind of bomb that makes you question whether you're losing your grip on reality. I think we should hire a nanny, he said, not looking up from his plate. I blinked at him, fork midair. A nanny? For what? I work from home, Ethan. I'm literally here all day. He shrugged, stabbing at his food like it had personally offended him. You've been stressed. It might help. Just a few hours. That wasn't an explanation. That was a diversion wrapped in half-truths. My chest tightened, but I didn't argue. Because deep down, I wanted to see where this would go. 2 weeks later, she arrived. Her name was Lila. 26, soft brown hair pulled into a neat ponytail, a voice so gentle it felt like sunlight. She bent down to greet our son, her smile warm, patient. And then I saw Ethan. He froze. Just for a split second, but it was there. His body stiffening, eyes widening like someone had punched the air out of him. I knew that look. Shock. Recognition. Something he didn't want me to see. Ethan, I said carefully. He blinked, forced a smile, and muttered, Sorry, just long week. Long week, my ass. Ever notice how families add new people into the mix like it's nothing? But sometimes that new person isn't just new. They're a ticking time bomb wrapped in a polite smile. And apparently, 95% of you listening haven't hit subscribe. That's like being handed the detonator and pretending it's a TV remote. Hit that button. It keeps the secrets leaking and the drama detonating. Back to the mess. From the moment Lila walked into our home, Ethan was different. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in the tiny fractures you only notice when you love someone enough to study them. The way his eyes lingered too long when she wasn't looking. The way his voice softened when he said her name. And the way his walls shot up higher whenever I entered the room. That night, I tried to test him. "She seems sweet," I said casually as we cleaned up dinner. "How did you find her again?" He didn't look up from the sink. "Agency." "Which one?" His shoulders tightened. "Does it matter?" Yes, it mattered. Every single detail mattered when my marriage was cracking at the seams. Later, I watched from the hallway as Ethan carried our son to bed. Lila lingered near the doorway, her eyes on Ethan with an expression I couldn't place, part longing, part sorrow. He caught her gaze, and for a second, just a second, something passed between them, something unspoken but undeniable. My throat went dry. This wasn't about childcare. This wasn't about me being stressed. This was about Lila, and I couldn't shake the thought clawing at my brain. Why did she feel less like a stranger and more like a ghost from Ethan's past? The thing about living with suspicion is that you start hearing things you were never meant to hear. One evening, I padded down the hallway, meaning to grab my phone charger from the nursery. The door was cracked just enough for me to see shadows moving inside. Ethan's voice, low, raw, carried through. "I thought I'd lost you forever." My pulse spiked. I froze against the wall, breath shallow. Then Lila's reply, soft but steady. "It wasn't your fault." My grip on the doorframe tightened until my knuckles ached. Fault? Lost you? My stomach twisted into knots. I slipped back down the hall before they could catch me eavesdropping. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the charger. I wanted to storm in, demand answers, but I knew Ethan. He'd shut down, deflect, maybe even twist it back on me like he always did these days. So I waited, and waiting felt like drowning. The tension between us turned sharp, jagged. Meals were silent battles, every clink of a fork a reminder of the words neither of us would say. Finally, I cracked. We were in the kitchen, me wiping down counters, him staring at his phone like it held his salvation. I slammed the rag down. "Ethan, I can't do this anymore. What the hell is going on between you and Lila?" He flinched, eyes snapping up, defensiveness written all over his face. "Jesus, Natalie, there's nothing going on." "Don't lie to me. I heard you. I heard what you said." His mouth opened, then shut. His Adam's apple bobbed like he was choking down the truth. "You're imagining things," he muttered finally, brushing past me to put his phone on the counter. Imagining things. The words stung worse than a slap. I leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, fury burning in my chest. "You're shutting me out. You're lying. I don't even know who you are anymore." For a second, just one, his mask slipped. His eyes softened, regret flickering across his face. Then it was gone, buried under layers of fear and stubbornness. Later that night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, toothbrush forgotten in my hand. My reflection stared back, pale and tired, eyes rimmed red from frustration. "How do you fight for a marriage?" I whispered to my own reflection, "when you don't even know what battlefield you're on?" Behind me, the bedroom light clicked off. Ethan slipped into bed without a word, the silence between us thicker than ever. And as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, one thought refused to leave me. Lila wasn't just some random nanny. She was connected to Ethan's secrets in ways I hadn't even begun to understand. And if I wanted the truth, I was going to have to dig deeper, no matter what I found. Secrets have a way of bleeding through the cracks, no matter how tightly someone tries to seal them. Ethan had his walls, Lila had her quiet looks, but I wasn't prepared for the person who finally slipped. The one who'd sworn she'd never betray him. June. She showed up one afternoon, carrying a casserole like it was armor. She always did that. Show up with food when she thought something was wrong. We sat at the kitchen table, steam rising from the dish between us, the silence heavier than the scent of cream of mushroom. I cut straight to it. June, I know something's wrong with Ethan. I need you to tell me what it is. Her fork clinked against the plate. She didn't look at me at first, just smoothed the napkin across her lap, her fingers trembling slightly. You're a good wife to him, she said softly, but there are some things, some griefs, that don't belong in a marriage. They belong to the past. The words lodged in my chest. My voice dropped to a whisper. What grief? Her eyes flickered up, wide and sharp like she'd said too much. For a moment she pressed her lips together so tightly, I thought they might disappear. But then she exhaled, long and shaky. He lost a child, Natalie, before he ever met you. The room spun. My hands went cold. A child. The photo. The crying. The way Ethan looked at Lila like she was a ghost come back to life. It all snapped into place. My chair scraped back hard against the floor. Why wouldn't he tell me? June's eyes softened, but her words were clipped. Because losing that child nearly destroyed him. And telling you, it would mean reliving it. He wanted a clean start. With you. I stared at her. Anger and heartbreak tangled into something sharp. A clean start? By burying the truth alive? By letting me feel like I was crazy? Her hand reached across the table, but I pulled mine back. June swallowed hard. I shouldn't have said anything. But it was too late. You ever notice how families sweep dirt under rugs big enough to trip an elephant? And then one day, bam, you're face down in the mess, wondering why you didn't just vacuum sooner. That's betrayal for you. And hey, 96% of you listening haven't subscribed. That's like eating Thanksgiving dinner, then leaving before the dishes. Don't be that guest. Hit subscribe. It keeps the drama hot and the secrets spilling. Back to my mother-in-law's little performance. I sat there in shock, replaying every fight, every late-night silence, every look between Ethan and Lila. He wasn't just distant. He wasn't just hiding. He was haunted. And now I knew why. But knowing didn't fix the damage. It didn't make the cold side of the bed warmer, or the hollow ache in my chest fade. It didn't erase the fact that the man I loved had built our life together on a foundation of omission. That night, I watched him come home, his tie loosened, eyes tired, shoulders sagging. He kissed our son's head like nothing in the world was wrong. And for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw a stranger carrying ghosts. Some truths don't arrive gently. They crash down, sharp and brutal, leaving you with cuts you'll never stop tracing. I'd reached my breaking point. After June's slip, after weeks of lies, after nights spent listening to Ethan breathe like a stranger beside me, I couldn't carry his silence anymore. So I cornered him. It was late, dishes still in the sink, our son finally asleep. Ethan sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, tie undone, shirt rumpled. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed, my voice steady, only because anger held it up. Who is she, Ethan? Why does Lila look at you like she's part of your soul? His head jerked up, eyes wide. For a long second, he just stared, jaw clenched, shoulders tight. Then something inside him broke. He exhaled, the sound jagged. You weren't supposed to know. Know what? My voice cracked. That my husband has been crying over a baby picture I've never seen? That he shares secrets with the nanny instead of me? He winced like every word was a knife. It's not like that. Then what the hell is it? Silence. I thought he'd walk out. Thought he'd put up another wall. But instead, Ethan rubbed his face, eyes wet, and finally spoke. Years ago, before I met you, there was someone else. We had a baby, a little girl. His voice broke, raw and uneven. She didn't make it. Complications. I held her once, just once, and then she was gone. The world tilted under my feet. I gripped the counter, heart pounding so loud I almost couldn't hear him. You had a child, and you never told me? His eyes shone. Because I couldn't. That grief, it destroyed me. I wanted to bury it, start over, with you, with us. The baby photo, the sobbing, the distance. It all came together in one brutal, shattering puzzle. But there was still the missing piece. And Lila? My voice was a whisper now. Ethan swallowed hard. His gaze dropped to the table. She's her older sister. From her mother's side. She reached out months ago, said she wanted to know me, to connect. When she walked through that door, I saw the face of the family I lost, and I didn't know how to handle it. My throat closed. The truth hit harder than betrayal. It was grief, rotting and festering in the walls of our marriage, and now that it had surfaced, I didn't know if it could be healed, or if it would consume everything. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hold him. I wanted to run. Instead, I just stood there, silent, shattered, staring at the man who had finally told me everything, and left me with nothing I could fix. Grief doesn't ask for permission. It just moves in, rearranges the furniture, and dares you to keep living in the house it's destroyed. That's what it felt like in the days after Ethan's confession. We barely spoke, both of us orbiting the same rooms like strangers. He'd sit in the nursery, staring at that photo, and I'd linger in the hallway, torn between wanting to rip it out of his hands and wanting to curl up beside him. I told myself I should be furious, and I was. He'd lied by omission, built our marriage on half-truths, but underneath the anger was something heavier, sorrow, not just for the little girl he'd lost, but for the man who'd been carrying that loss in silence. One night, I finally broke the quiet. Why didn't you trust me with this? My voice was steady, but my chest ached. Ethan didn't look up from the photo. Because I didn't want you to see me like this. Broken. Weak. I stepped closer, my hand brushing the back of the chair. Weak? Ethan, I thought you didn't love me anymore. I thought you were leaving me. The truth would have hurt, yes, but the lies nearly destroyed me. His shoulders sagged. He set the photo down slowly, like it might shatter. I didn't know how to be both. A husband to you, and a father to someone I lost. The words sliced through me, because I realized then it wasn't that he didn't love me. It was that he'd never forgiven himself enough to let me in. We sat in silence for a long time. Not the angry silence that had filled our home for weeks, but something rawer, fragile, honest. Finally, I reached out. My hand hovered over his for what felt like forever before I let it rest there. His skin was warm, trembling. He didn't pull away. I didn't say I forgave him. I didn't promise everything would be okay. Because it wouldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But in that moment, we chose to sit with the ghosts together, instead of alone. Marriage isn't about the easy parts. It's about whether you can survive the ugly truths. And the truth was, Ethan and I were still standing. Bruised, but standing. As for Lila, she stayed a few more weeks, then quietly left. No drama, no scene. Just a soft goodbye and a look at Ethan that said more than words ever could. I didn't ask what they'd said to each other. Some conversations belonged to the past. The photo went back into its box. Ethan tucked it in the closet, not forgotten, but no longer hidden either. And slowly, achingly slowly, we began to learn how to breathe again. So here's the question I keep circling back to. What would you have done in my shoes? Could you forgive a lie if it was born from grief instead of betrayal? Or does the silence wound just as deeply as the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know. And if this story made you feel something, hit subscribe. Because more stories are coming. More twists, more secrets, more lessons you never saw coming.